Where to start with Man United's transfer window? Lee Grant? What an underwhelming summer it's been at Old Trafford. 3 players through the door: Grant, who's come in as a substitute goalkeeper; Fred, who's come in as another Nemanja Matic; and Diego Dalot, who's come in as his reserve right back. It's just been a disaster from start to finish. The last thing that Mourinho needed in the squad was another Matic. He tried to turn Pogba into one last season, and now he's going to park Fred right in that same position in the pitch. Dalot's not even fit, and even if he was, would he get past Antonio Valencia in the first team? And Grant? Look, you've got to get, he's the best goalkeeper in the world. That just doesn't improve things. Man United were linked with Toby Alderweireld. They didn't get him. They were linked with Jerome Boateng, linked with Harry Maguire. All the way till the very last knock-ins of the transfer window, they were linked with Yerry Mina from Barcelona as well. What came through the door? Absolutely nothing. Look, I know Jose Mourinho has spent 430 odd million in the last couple of years, but in order to get within those 19 points in Manchester City, they absolutely needed new signings this summer. They don't have a natural right winger. He's alienated Anthony Martial, and it's hard to know where that pace on the right hand side is going to come from in the season upcoming. They signed Alexis Sanchez in January. That's been, let's call it a dud. Sanchez really needs to step up this season and make sure that he's worth that 600,000 odd a week that Man United are paying him. Ed Woodward totally failed the fans this summer. They were looking forward to some new signings to celebrate. Instead, they've got 3 new commercial partners. If anything is going to sum up the disconnect between what goes on at boardroom level at Man United and what's expected from the fans on the football field, is this summer's transfer window. Next up, Liverpool. They've done exactly what they needed to do. They needed an upgrade on Loris Karius, who was a disaster last season. They've got Alisson, Brazil's #1, and quite possibly one of the best goalkeepers in the world. In midfield, a total overhaul. Emre Can has gone on a free transfer. They brought in Fabinho and Naby Keita. That's going to give them huge dynamism in the centre of the field. Up front, look, we know the strength of the 3 forwards that they had last season, but they've also brought in Xherdan Shaqiri, who can cover for any 3 of them, and in that attacking midfield slot. It's been a dream summer at Anfield for Jurgen Klopp. Tottenham. Congratulations, Spurs. You've just become the first team since the summer transfer window was introduced in 2003. I can't believe I said 3. First team since 2003 when the summer transfer window was introduced not to sign a single player. I mean, come on, get somebody through the door. I know they held on to Harry Kane and Toby Alderweireld, but they really needed quality to kick on to the next level for next season. Martial was linked, Lewis Cook was linked, Wilfried Zaha was linked. None of them walked through the door. Pochettino said 3 or 4 weeks ago that Spurs had some interest in certain players, and he hasn't managed to get any of those deals over the line. Him and his backroom staff, they haven't signed those new contracts to see Spurs stagnate in their new stadium. Major upgrades might well be needed in January, and you better hope that Pochettino doesn't walk before the end of next season. Man City. Look, Man City are still far and away the best team in the Premier League, and I don't expect anybody to get close to them come the 38th game of next season, but they probably could have done with a few more players through the door in order to give themselves that kick-up in quality for the Champions League. I know they got Riyad Mahrez, but look around that Man City lineup. Is he really going to displace Leroy Sané or Raheem Sterling or Sergio Aguero from the front line? Probably not. I know they're going to have some busy periods throughout the season and Mahrez is going to get plenty of football, but I just don't see him as the type of signing who's going to bring a great team to that extra level. We know Pep Guardiola really wanted a defensive midfielder, and they've been linked with Jorginho, they've been linked with Marco Verratti, they've been linked with Pjanic and Thiago and all kinds of players, but they got none of them through the door. And it's got to a situation where he's even considering putting John Stones in that defensive midfield position for certain games in the season upcoming. Look, Man City have the best players in the league, they've got the best manager in the league, but I think halfway through the season he might be considering to himself that maybe could have done a little bit more in this transfer window to keep that gap between themselves and the rest of the contenders. Wolves. Going to give a special mention to Wolverhampton Wanderers. They had a truly special summer transfer window, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish top 10 in their first season back in the top flight since 2012. They've added on permanent deals some of those great loan stars from last season like Jota, Bowley and Bonatini, but also their permanent deals this summer have been absolutely sensational. They brought in 2 European champions in João Moutinho and Rui Patricio. They brought in a proven goal scorer in Raul Jimenez. They brought in some of the best promising young talent that Europe has to offer in Leandro Dendoncker and in Adama Traore as well. Wolves, they might have a full new team out on the pitch next season. They've certainly worked those Jorge Mendes connections well this summer. Wolves, team to watch for me.